Hi, I'm Brett Moushon. I work with Gafcon Digital. I am the leader of the consulting group, and we are a digital twin integration company. We work with large-scale owners throughout the globe, and it's a pleasure to be with you today, Nathan.
Yeah, likewise, Brett. I'm Nathan Doughty. I'm the CEO of Asite. We're a data platform and supply chain management and common data environment platform for the construction industry. We're based in London in the UK. We started out back in 2001 as the procurement hub for UK construction, and we've expanded from there. Now we run in about 12 different countries. So yeah, pleasure to be here as well. We're here talking about digital twins, and in particular, the ideas around how they get created and data ownership. So Brett, I thought maybe if you wouldn't mind starting out with your views on who's responsible for building digital twins on the projects that we work in.
Yeah, that's a great question to start off with. We really see this as a combined effort, right? So digital twins mean different things to different people. What we're looking at is it's really the from an owner perspective, kind of driving that with the AEs, the general contractors, the subcontractors, and then who is going to be involved in the operations point of view. We typically see this in an integrated project delivery type of work that's set up kind of contractually for the built environment. But what do you see, Nathan, from your side?
Yeah, similar. I mean, you mentioned IPD or integrated project delivery, and we, I think we both have had experience with that over in previous years. One of the first projects that I worked on early on was, in my career was Heathrow Terminal 5, which was, it was a very early, large scale partnering based approach to setting up project teams and trying to align goals. And try to move beyond the litigation-based culture that we have in our industry. Now, in terms of who's responsible for building them, I like to, ask the question a different way: who's responsible for building the asset itself? And the answer is that it's a collaboration, right, amongst all the different parties, ultimately, working together to create a deliverable to the owner. Now. Like the collaboration that we have to build the actual asset, we need that to encompass the same as delivering to deliver the digital version of the asset or the digital twin, the construction digital twin. So it's not just one entity; it's the entire supply chain working together. Now, where we go from that and who owns the data out of it, I think, is the next question. What do you think about that?
This is a major thing that I see throughout, large scale projects where you have, depending on where it is in the building life cycle, AEs, from an ownership perspective, if you look at more responsibility, who's responsible for the data in certain parts of the life cycle, right? So, the AEs would be primarily responsible for the data modeling. And when I say data, I mean really everything, asset information, data modeling, or BIM, the level of detail, conferring, making sure that they conform to standards that are set through the BEP and the BIM guidelines. As well, and then deliver that to a common platform, and then it would be shifted off to the GC to do the same thing, collect that information from their subs, and then once you're ultimately going to pass that to the operators, whoever's going to own and operate that asset, at the end of it, it's the owner, it's whoever you're building that asset for. And what we see a lot is that the owners, are looking for outcomes of their project lifecycle, and they may be missing information if they don't ask for it. right? So they're going to ask for it through contracts and through standards, data standards and BIM standards and their BEP. And so that's ultimately how they're going to consume that data from a 30-year operation of that asset. And so is that similar to what you see?
Very similar, actually. I think so. If I'm a software developer and I get hired by a company to write a piece of software, the output of that software, which is my creation, my innovation, is belongs to the company I'm working for, right? As a matter of contract and that's why I'm employed. And in our industry, in the built environment, you just talked about contracts. I think the ownership of the data has to mirror exactly the contracts that are in place, from the owner to the GCs and the professional tier down to the subs and to the material suppliers, et cetera. Everybody has to contribute their own data and their own work that goes into that, and ultimately it flows up to the owner. Now, in order to do that, just like we have contracts that mandate what it is that I'm delivering, by when, and for how much, they also need to mandate the data deliverables or the contracted data interchanges that need to be handed over at each point. Now, and there's this whole idea of common data environments can be oversimplified many times. It's actually a common data environment is actually many different common data environments coming together. Ideally, if it's done correctly with contracted interchanges or data exchanges, and if we can get that right, and you said earlier very critically, the owner ultimately has to mandate what he or she wants, and that includes not just, I want a building that's this tall with this many square feet, but also, what data do I need to operate it, please? Then you won't get it. You don't get what you don't ask for. Right? So all of that kind of complex web of relationships and interrelationships, I think, requires quite a lot of skills that we may or may not have today. So where do you think we stand with skill sets needed to achieve this?
That's a great question. And, I see this as leading a lot of these efforts for, as an owner's rep, as we go through, that, each group is really geared for their own kind of area. So if you think of it this way, typically the AEs will design for intent, right? And pass that over to the GCs, who then may have to remodel and redesign things for buildability, manufacturability if they're doing prefab. And then, then the operators, whoever that is the owner or some other firm, has to be able to ingest that data, especially asset data coming from supply chain, to be able to maintain that building and assets within the building. I see the AEs ultimately have, they're very good in design and that piece of it. The general contractors are really coming along. I'm seeing a lot of technology being used now, a lot of analytics and really, from laser scanning to photogrammetry, a lot of technology is really helping them out. It's still the trades, right? So the trades have to really be more incorporated into this process of providing data. I think the general contractors can help that a lot with being more prescriptive with them. So maybe, advanced work packages that they can look at, really defining what data they're going to get from their subs.
Yeah, I see similar things. We work with, about half and half with owners, and the other half with largely tier one contractors. And in the last 20 years, especially with contractors, I've gone from being the only tech person in the room as a third party, to being, one of multiple third parties dealing with an array of internal developers and internal data scientists. And the professional tier of the industry has really ramped up in the last 20 years for sure. And, realized, like most industries, that software is eating the planet. And if you don't you don't get on board, then you get left behind. And so that skill set challenge is being addressed, through the forces of the market. Now, the mid tier and below, by their nature are lagging behind that a bit, but nonetheless, the take up is happening. I think there's a big opportunity for all of us to focus on, simplifying and on usability. And, a lot of the solutions that we use at enterprise aren't necessarily, the right fit for the average, mid-sized builder and down the trades. But that's part of the natural progression. I think it's fantastic seeing the progress that we've seen. The final point that I want to violently agree with you on is that whether you're talking for claims prevention or otherwise, the biggest value add that a digital twin, and not just digital twin, but CDs and building information modeling and all the digitization that we've seen, the biggest value add that it can bring is the audit trail, right?
Yeah.
And that can be used for defensive purposes or positive, collaborative purposes. But that either way, we got to put the tools in the hands of the people doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely.